Now, we have set up this particular transmission for the idea of discussing what is euphemistically called in your language your soul blueprint. What this generally means is that when you choose to be physical, as many of you know, you will come into physical reality with a general theme that you have decided to play out. It does not always mean that you decide every single moment of your life, or that you are destined to only do certain things. That is not what the soul blueprint means. Although you can create some specific incidents, events, encounters in your life. You can design them, set them up ahead of time for that to come to fruition. You can do that, and sometimes do that. But not every moment. Far from it is laid out ahead of time. You leave yourself an opening throughout your life to make changes as you go, depending upon how much you learn, how much you recognize, how much you realize, how much you integrate. You leave yourself the opportunity at every moment to take the new information and decide where you wish to go, what you wish to do with it, what you want your life to be from that moment forward. The general theme you may have set up for yourself prior to this life will be played out, but the theme is so general that it does not in any way, shape, or form restrict you or limit you in terms of the multitude of the kinds of ways in which you could express or experience that theme. And especially now, at this time upon your planet, many of the themes that you are exploring in these lives are all about waking up to the fact that you have the freedom to choose what you want your life to be, how you want to experience it. Now, we remind you once again that the most important perspective, the most important attitude to have toward your physical reality experience is not to look at how you are doing based on what's going on out there, but how you are doing based on how you respond to whatever's going on out there, no matter what it is. Always remember, there is no out there. There is only here. There is only you. Physical reality is an illusion, a mirror, a reflection. You can use it as a tool in some senses to reflect what is going on within you, what your beliefs are, what your thoughts are, what your emotions are, what your attitudes are, what your definitions are. You can use physical reality as a reflection, but it is not the first step in gauging whether or not you have made a change. The first step in knowing that you have changed is that you respond differently than you used to a situation that may look the same as it did before. As we have said, all situations and all circumstances do not have built-in meaning, and they can serve double duty. The meaning you give it is the effect you get from it. So the first step in knowing your reality has changed is in knowing you have changed with respect to your experience of reality, even if it looks the same as it did before. If you can then respond differently to that reality than you did before, then you know the change is real, the change is within you, the change is owned by you. And when you respond differently than you did before, in a manner that is more of your preference, then, and only then, does your physical reality truly begin to reflect that change in other ways. But remember, it doesn't have to necessarily look much different. The key is whether or not you are getting a different effect in your life than you did before. Because the very same situation with all the same props and all the same people behaving all the same way as they did before can still allow you to generate a completely different outcome, a completely different effect, a completely different energy than you did before, just by the fact that you are relating to the situation differently. Because you say you have changed and will respond differently. Because you are now not the same person that you were before, literally. When outer reality needs to look different, it will, as a reflection of the change. Whatever part of the change it needs to reflect differently, it will. But don't go off the outer reflection. Always go off your response. That will determine the difference. And that will determine the outcome. And that will determine the effect. Now, this personality idea that we have discussed many times, and which we will discuss in greater detail this time, is only your outer focusing device. Your personality is really nothing more than a window or a prism through which your consciousness creates the experience called physical reality. Now, that experience is, of course, actually only taking place within you. Again, there is no outside. Nothing out there. Nothing. Just a reflection. Just as there is nothing itself of the image in the mirror, you understand there is really nothing of reality outside you. It is all taking place within your consciousness. But what the personality allows itself to perceive is often built upon not only the beliefs and definitions you have been taught in life to hold most true, to buy into most strongly, but also based upon what is technically called the soul blueprint. What you brought into this life, in a sense, as a theme to explore. So you will always look at everything that happens through the personality. You will always look at everything through that general theme. You will experience it through that general theme. When you choose to be physical and go from a non-physical state into a physical state, in a sense what you do is a kind of crystallization. It's like going from being steam to being water to being ice. You freeze yourselves in a type of pattern. This pattern then is referred to as the soul blueprint. What you brought in with you in general, that you will explore in this life. Now, many of you have similar themes, as we said, in this life, because you're all exploring the ability to be aware and awake of the fact that you are free to choose your reality experience. Whereas in your history, in the past, as you say, you were not aware that you had this choice, that you had this freedom. And even many of you alive on your planet today are unaware that you have this choice, that you have this freedom to choose your life to be what you wish it to be. Many people on your planet still believe that life happens to you instead of happening through you. But it does not happen to you. It comes from you and reflects back to you. And we will get into more understanding of that later on in this transmission when we discuss in depth what we have called the reality generation circuit. the actual mechanism, the circuitry by which you are manifesting your physical reality experience. But first, the blueprint. What is it exactly? What is it made of exactly? What goes into the recipe of your soul blueprint? You have been given some diagrams, some charts that help to illustrate and illuminate this concept. If you will look at the one that shows you the idea of your history, all the different pathways, all the different consciousnesses, all the different lifetimes, all the different experiences of what you call your past that you have brought to your present and will take with you into your future. You can see that you are, as a soul blueprint, shall we say, made up of quite a lot of different kinds of frequencies of energy. Quite a lot of different frequencies of experience. Many of you have begun to become aware in this life of your connections to other times, other places, other experiences, other lives, and so forth. And often wonder, how does this relate to this life? Now, a little bit of an aside before we continue with this. When we have discussions with many of you, often, many people will refer to the idea of these other connections by asking a question, "Oh, Bashar, where do I really come from?" Well, of course, the direct answer is to the person actually asking the question is, well, you really come from Earth, obviously, because that's where you are right now asking the question from. But we understand that when they ask the question, where do I really come from? Where do I originate from? We understand what you mean, but we wish to point out that you originate from everywhere, all at once and nowhere. Here and now is where you come from. But the idea is that when they ask, where do I originate from? What they're actually asking is this: what other places and times and lives and experiences am I strongly connecting to from this life? Because that's what you're actually doing. In any given life, because they all exist simultaneously, past, present, future, all exist now. All your so-called past lives are all going on right now with this one simultaneously, in much the same way that all the different programs on your television that you could watch at any given moment are all there at the same time, but you only get the one that your channel is tuned to at any given moment. So it is with this. So it is with the structure of existence. You, the you know yourself to be here on earth, are experiencing this earth life. Other variations of your consciousness are experiencing other lives in other places and other times now at the same moment. But they are separated by the fact that they are different frequencies, in much the same way that television and radio programs on your planet are separated by the fact that they are different frequencies. But they're all there at once. They all exist at the same time. But frequency and resonance is the key. So, from any life, in any life, you form attachments and connections to other lives going on simultaneously that have relevance to this life in terms of the kind of experiences that are being had in those other lives by those other versions of you. Because you know that the experiences they are having are relevant to some of the experiences that you may be having in this life, and, as you say, vice versa. From those lives, they may be tapping into other lives, including this one, from which they can draw upon your experiences. So, I'll give you an example. In a life that you may call a past life, You may be having a great deal of despair and hopelessness in a particular experience that you are having in that life. Then suddenly, for apparently no reason, hope and inspiration hits you, and you realize there is a way out of this. I do not have to lose hope. I can find my way through the dark to the light. And you don't know where that came from or why that hit you, but suddenly you just know things can get better. Well, sometimes that information, that knowledge, that certainty may have come from your guides, may have come from spirit, may have come from a variety of places, but it also may have come from an experience that you're having in another life that shows you there's a way out. Maybe coming from this life now, where you are exploring the idea that you have the freedom to choose your reality. And just that knowledge alone may leak into the other life, may be drawn upon by the other life to know, yes, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Yes, I don't know where this knowledge comes from. I don't know where this certainty comes from. But I now know I'm not alone. I now know I can do what I need to do. And that inspiration may be coming from you. You may be sending that certainty with your experiences in this life to another of your lives to let them know that they can rely on your experience here and now to let them know they can improve their experience there and then. You are cross-connected to all your other lives, and the ones that stand out are the ones that have relevance for this life. And those are the ones that stand out energetically, vibrationally. Those are the ones that you often refer to when you ask the question, where do I come from? Where is my origin? The strong vibration. Now, this also extends to the idea of other dimensions, other civilizations. Some of you say, well, I know I come from the Pleiades, or I come from Arcturus. Again, no. You come from Earth. You come from Earth. You may have lives going on in the Pleiadian systems, in the Arcturian systems, simultaneously, yes. Your oversoul, from which all your lives extend simultaneously, like the fingers on a hand. The oversoul may have lives going on Earth, in the Pleiadian systems, in the Arcturian systems, in the past, in the present, in the future, on different kinds of planets, in different kinds of dimensions all at once. So you don't come from there as if you were there and now you're here. That's an illusion, linearly. But you may sense, as you gain more and more awareness of who and what you are, and gather more information of the total self together, you may suddenly become aware of the fact that you have other lives in other places simultaneously. But because you're used to thinking in a linear before and after way, you may phrase the question, well, I must come from there because I'm not there now. And you put it in a linear framework. But all you're actually saying is you are awakening to the fact that you have cross connections to other things going on simultaneously and can draw upon that for whatever you wish to use that energy for in this life now. And so, getting in touch with the idea of your soul blueprint, this aspect of it, the recipe, the combination of all these different frequencies, of all these other experiences that are relevant to this life here on earth, is one strong way to get a handle, as you say, on exactly what your recipe is, where you are cross-connecting to, what kind of energies you are using in this life, in whatever manner you wish to use them, in whatever manner you wish to apply them. Being aware that you have connections to other realities like that is not about disconnecting from the earth, wishing that you could go back to that reality. No. The reason that you are where you are is because you chose to be where you are in order to act as a conduit to bring that energy to earth and manifest it in whatever way is relevant to the earth experience, to allow the earth to transform. Because every single one of you that are on earth now, in some way, shape, or form, chose to be on earth now because you knew that you would be going through a transition and a transformation at this time in your planet's history, and on some level, in some way, you wanted to participate. You wanted to be a part of that because it's a very exciting place to be right now. As you say in your language, it's where it's happening. It is one of the most highly focused places right now that we are aware of in creation for the idea of transition and transformation. It is one of the few places that has gone as deeply into the dark as you have, that we are aware of. And thus then, when a planet, when a civilization, when a collective consciousness can allow itself to experience such a great degree of darkness and yet still find its way to the light, that is special. That is powerful. And believe me, you attract the attention of many other beings from many other dimensions to see how you did it, how you're doing it, because that's exciting, because that's creation in the making. That's raw creation, going from absolute dark to absolute light. That's creation in a nutshell. So thank you for your strength, for your commitment, for your willingness to go through this transition. It's a powerful thing to have done, and it shows you, just by being where you are, it shows you how powerful you actually are. So never lose sight of that. To be where you are on earth at this time means you are powerful beings who knew what you were doing when you chose this reality, and even though you have forgotten that you knew what you were doing, you still know what you're doing. One of the ways you have allowed yourself to co-create a way to remember that you knew what you were doing is through your creation of us. Bringing an opportunity to you to remind you, which we are happy to do, to remind you of how powerful you are. So we thank you for the opportunity. We thank you for the gift you have bestowed upon us to allow us to be those that remind you who you are. Thank you for allowing us to be your alarm clock and help you wake up. Ding. Time to wake up. Time to be more aware of more of who you are so that you can, with open eyes and certainty, live your life with full conviction, responding as you want to. Responding as you prefer to, no matter what's going on in your reality. And getting the effect from that response that you deserve, that you now know you deserve to get. Regardless of what anyone else is doing, regardless of what anyone else's intention toward you may be, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. You matter. What you say matters. Becomes matter. Energy to matter. Non-physical to physical. The effect comes from your willingness to have the conviction to know your relationship to whatever you experience, whoever you experience, no matter the situation, no matter the circumstances. While you are on earth, for a while, you will still experience many people and many situations that are not reflective of your preference, because that's the nature of earth. Many people will make the assumption that just because they are changing themselves, they will suddenly no longer have to ever interact with anyone who is not of their frequency. No. You are still on the earth. It's still going to be a mix of things for a little while longer, but that's okay. It still gives you an opportunity to see in absolute example what you do and don't prefer. It always gives you a way to gauge where you're at relative to the things you see that you know are not who you are, who you prefer to be, who you prefer to deal with. So use that as an opportunity. Don't think there is something wrong Just because, well, I've changed myself and I'm a more spiritual person, so why am I still getting people in my life that are not acting in a spiritual way? Shouldn't I be better than that? Shouldn't I be above that? Shouldn't I be beyond that? No! The idea, first of all, remember, is that you're on earth. That's what earth is all about. Polarity. Right now, it's still all about the idea of different examples of different ways of doing things, dark and light. And remember, the idea in integration is that you have something to integrate. If it's all just light, there's nothing to integrate. So, becoming more of yourself is also becoming more aware, not only of the light, but also of the dark. The more aware you become of the light and the dark choices, then the more you can choose openly and clearly what you prefer. It's not about excluding, it's about including. It's about knowing that you have choice still to go into the dark if you want to, but now it's knowing you don't have to. But that doesn't mean you won't see the dark choice. It means you'll become more aware of the dark choice. But now it means you become aware of the dark choice just as a choice, not as a given, not as an absolute, not as something that has more power over you, just as a neutral choice, like any other choice. It's just a choice. Hey, come into the dark. No thanks. Not because you're afraid, just because you know it's not your preference. It's just not your preference. But in order to know it's not your preference, you have to be aware that it's a choice you could still make, and you can make that choice at any time. If you couldn't make that choice, if you were not aware you had the choice to go into the dark, you would not be a fully empowered being to make a choice to go into the light. That's the whole point. So don't think something is wrong because suddenly you are still finding yourself interacting with people who are not of the vibration of integrity. It's giving you an opportunity to decide whether or not you still want to play that game or whether you wish to make another choice. That's all right. They do not have any power to affect you as long as you do not agree to be affected. So that's why it's so important to respond differently as if you have changed, no matter what's going on in the situation around you. And the way you get more in touch with the idea of who you are is by now beginning to really deeply understand your soul blueprint, what living this life is all about, what the theme is really all about, which is the freedom to choose no matter what. And allow yourself to move with conviction and commitment in that direction, but not in avoidance of anything. There is no avoiding. If you wish to grow and expand, you cannot avoid, because there is nowhere to avoid anything. There is nowhere to go. There is only here and now. You cannot run away from anything. You must invite it in and accept it as a part of who you are if you're really going to have the freedom to choose who you want to be. It's all about inclusion and integration, not exclusion and segregation anymore. That's the old pattern. That's not you anymore. If it was, we would not be having this conversation. So take that as a sign that it's time to know more of who you are. Be more of who you are and accept the dark and the light that you have and use it in a positive way. Just because you're aware of the dark doesn't mean you become the darkness. It just means you're aware of more of who you are, and that's a positive thing. That's a positive thing. So now, looking at this chart and looking at the idea, shall we say, of a soul path. I understand this is going to be in a somewhat linear framework, but it's easier to describe that way. Just understand that everything I'm saying coexists simultaneously right now. But nevertheless, for ease of discussion, look at the soul path through time on that chart. Starting with the idea simply of creation and the exploration bit by bit of specific themes as you consolidated and consolidated and consolidated and crystallized the family group of souls that you are in a more specific and more specific course of events. and having many lives in these different realities, different systems, experiencing and expressing yourself in all these different places, and way more than are on that chart. There is no room on the chart for all the places you're really having experiences, but they are the ones that have a high degree of significance and relevance for you in this life. The ones that many of you have woken up to recognizing you have a connection to, such as the idea of the old Orion systems, the Pleiadian systems, the Arcturian systems, the Sirius systems. All these ideas that you are connecting to have relevance to what's going on Earth. And the idea that also, as a soul group, many of you, in coming into and incarnating in your present solar system, actually had many of your incarnations first on the planet you now call Mars, when it was capable of supporting life as you know it, a long time ago. And those incarnational cycles brought in other ideas, other experiences, and added to your overall understanding of yourself as a soul group and as individual souls within it, individual spirits within it, individual personalities within it, and your relationship to that overall family. And then, when natural disasters occurred upon Mars and rendered it uninhabitable, you recognized that Earth was now available in that sense and ready for inhabitation by souls, for incarnational inhabitation. Now first, as you can see on the chart, there were other life forms, as you know, upon your planet. The idea also of what you call the dinosaurs and so forth. And other extraterrestrials, some of which are known to you, some of which are unknown to you, but one that is known, referred to as Anunnaki, that came to Earth and experimented with genetic material, used their own genetic material, their own DNA, to create a new race, using the idea of dinosaur DNA to create now what you recognize as a reptilian race. But this did not exist or inhabit the Earth for a long period of time. Went elsewhere, was taken elsewhere. But then for other reasons, also eventually, once a natural hominid species upon the Earth arose, then again, Anunnaki and others took their genetic material, blended it with the genetic material of the hominid species, and a human form was created that could then, in that sense, be inhabited incarnationally by your soul vibration. It was of a resonance that was capable of then relating to your soul vibration, so you could incarnate in the human form upon the planet. Now, all these influences, so to speak, act like a recipe. For in the incarnations upon the Earth, you still brought with you all these different vibrations, all these different experiences. Pleiadian, Arcturian, Sirius, Orion, neutrals, other dimensional beings, wanderers, observers, grays from parallel dimensions, and so forth, into the mix. And that is why you have such a very rich experience upon the Earth, and why there is so much variety upon the Earth, because each of you is like your own little pie chart, with different degrees of these vibrations, in different proportions and ratios to one another. All of you have all of those vibrations, but in varying proportions and degrees. So let us say, for example, you all have some energy that is Pleiadian in nature, but one of you may have, let's say, 1% of a slice in your pie chart, another may have 3%, another may have 5% or 10%. All of you have the energy connected to the Sirius star system, but one of you may have 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 20%. It depends on many different things about what kind of theme you wished to explore and experience in this life. But you all have all those energies to varying degrees in your pie charts. In that sense, then, the soul blueprint can be looked at as a kind of pie chart of all these different frequencies, all these different energies. All brought to bear now to a focal point in the present. All cross-connecting. All activating. All waking up to their proportionate varying degrees of connection. To allow you to have awareness to whatever degree it is relevant for you to have awareness of these different frequencies, to use these energies in whatever way is relevant to your theme. And your theme is connected to the idea that we have talked about on your planet for so many years, and that is your excitement, your joy. Whatever is the strongest excitement, whatever is the strongest joy you have at any given moment, is the direction in which you will find your themes of exploration, is the direction that will best support you in the exploration of your themes in this life. Themes perhaps being the idea of deservability, of the issue of creating freely from choice. Can take many different sub-themes. Sub-themes of exploring abundance, sub-themes of exploring relationship, sub-themes of exploring different levels of fear. All sorts of sub-themes within the overall theme of discovering who you really are in this place and time that adds to your understanding of your relationship to creation and your relationship to the transformation going on earth at this time that is so very intensely important for your experience as a soul. Because it is so unique, because it is so rare to go from such darkness to such lightness. You have taken on an incredible task, and an incredibly enriching task, an incredibly enriching education that when you go through this transition as you are, takes that experience and radiates it to the rest of creation so that the entirety of creation is enriched by your experience. And you going through this experience gives others in creation more opportunity and more possibility of experiencing creation in a richer way. Gives them more understanding that more things are possible to experience because you have experienced things that some people on some planets would have heretofore thought were impossible to experience. Surely no one can ever possibly experience the idea of actually being disconnected from creation. Surely that's not possible. Where could that ever happen? How is that even possible to happen? Well, I know this place. It's called Earth. They actually believe they are not connected to creation. They can actually experience themselves as if they are disconnected. They can actually believe they are not unconditionally loved. No, surely not. You jest. That's not possible. How can anyone actually have an experience that they are not unconditionally loved? Well, they've found a way, clever beings that they are. They have found a way to use, listen to this, they have found a way to use the unconditionally loving connection they have with creation. They have found a way to use the unconditionally loving connection to make it seem as if they are not unconditionally loved. How clever is that? Because the only way they could actually have an experience of being disconnected is to actually be connected and create the illusion of disconnection. And why would they want to do that? Because they have discovered that by actually being willing to experience the illusion of complete disconnection from creation, and yet then find that connection again, it's a unique and extremely potent and powerful way to experience the actual creative act. Really? Well, how much longer are they going to do this? Not long. They've actually almost reached the end of that cycle of separation, and are now remembering that in fact they are connected, remembering in fact that they created the illusion of disconnection, remembering in fact that it is an illusion, and are waking up to the fact that they have never really been disconnected, but have been playing the disconnection game in order to gain insight and experience into what it actually is to be in the moment of the act of creation itself. Because if they didn't experience it that way, they would not be able to slow it down enough to actually have the experience of the act of creation. Things would just be created, or they would not be. There would no be in between. There would no experience of in-betweenness. They would not have the experience of the act itself. And so they cleverly created this idea of time and space to such a depth, to such a degree, that they can actually slow it down and experience all the details of the act of creation. Really fascinating. Glad it's them and not me. Yes, but you see, they were very bold, and we honor them for being so bold, because now that they're doing it, that means anyone can do it. And now that they have done what to you seems impossible, and now you know it's not, now you know nothing is impossible. Nothing. If they can do that, anyone can do anything. And believe me, when they finally waken up, and they finally remember, and they finally realize exactly what they've done, oh, watch out. Nothing will be impossible for them. I do not mean that we will give them big egos, but they will know. They will now know beyond a shadow of a doubt, as a race, as a family group of souls, as a portion of creation, they will know with absolute certainty nothing is beyond you. Nothing is impossible. They will have learned what it is to really see themselves through the eyes of God. And they will have done it in an incredibly unique and powerful way. And that will be a blessing to all of existence. Well, we're very interested in seeing this. Yes, well, come along. There are a lot of people watching. I've saved you a ringside seat to the event of the millennium. The waking up of planet Earth. The realizing of its true potential. Not very much longer now will they be playing this old game. Give it a couple of decades, maybe 3 at the most, and they will be fully on a new path, a new understanding, truly living out the full recognition of what their soul blueprint was all about, aiding and assisting, bringing all this energy to earth, funneling it all down, radiating it out, transmitting it out to the earth to make it possible for those to decide what reality they want. And in making that choice, then experiencing that reality. And eventually, only that reality. And so we are privileged to be able to participate in this transitional time, privileged to be able to see the process in action. You have no idea how many classes are learning from you. You are the curriculum for thousands, millions of beings learning through your example what you are going through. And as you awaken those portions of your soul blueprint, as you cross-connect, you have family members, other soul groups, in other realities that are also realizing that you are waking up and recognizing your relationship to them. Remember, everything we are transmitting to you right now is being heard by billions of other beings telepathically. And remember that you are receiving more information right now than you are hearing through the words coming out of the channel's mouth. There is a lot of correspondence going on right now. A lot of cross-connecting, a lot of things opening up. Sometimes you will feel it now. Sometimes it will come out in your dreams. Sometimes it will come out in the synchronicities in your life later. But one of the sure symptoms of your gathering yourself back together is the increase in synchronicity in your life. And I'm sure many of you have begun to experience more and more and more of that. Yes? Let it continue and learn from it. Trust it and follow it. It doesn't always necessarily mean what you may at first think it does, because you may be slightly out of touch with the kind of meaning you may be giving the synchronicity. But if you are willing to always know that whatever the synchronicity is, and whatever form it takes, is always representative of the playing out of your theme in a manner that serves you best, then you will be able to make the choice to relate to the synchronicity in a positive way, even if your mind cannot yet fully understand what that relationship is. Doesn't matter. If you know you have changed, then you will relate to all synchronicities in a positive way, and you will allow them to show you how they work in your lives. And if you find yourself believing in the negative momentarily, that's all right too. Because it's part of your path, it's part of your process. Invite even that doubt in, because you will learn from it eventually. We have absolute faith in all of you. We know where you're heading. We are only here to remind you that you know too. And we are here to help reflect the pieces of the puzzle you have created yourself to be, so you can put yourself back together into a whole picture. The soul blueprint idea is one of those pieces, one of the ways of gathering the pieces back together into the here and the now, in the present, to keep you in the present, yet paradoxically by looking at the idea of what you have been in the past. So as you contemplate this chart of the paths you have all taken to get where you've come to now, allow yourself to look at every single one of the labels on that chart and see how you feel about it, see how you relate to it. The degree to which you relate to it will give you some indication of exactly how big a slice in your pie chart that vibration is or is not. Some of these vibrations may have such a small slice you can barely relate to it. Some of them may have very big slices so that they seem overwhelming. But that's all right. Know that they're all there. Your lives as dolphins, your lives in Atlantis, your lives in Lemuria, your lives in other dimensions, your lives in other realms, your lives as spirits, physical, non-physical, your lives on Mars. Doesn't matter where or when, it's all part of the mix now. As you use this chart to ring a bell for you, by looking at these names, by looking at these pathways, by seeing how you relate to it and how it relates to you, by getting a sense or a feeling of whether or not you do relate strongly or weakly to it, it will begin to draw the picture for you of your pie chart, of your soul blueprint, of how you have arrayed and fanned out these vibrations into the whole pie that you are. So use that chart in that way. And then recognize that that band in the center is now where you are. And look and see how you have gone from the idea of universal and galactic and down into the solar system and down onto the earth and compressed and compressed and compressed and compressed and compressed yourselves. And now, as you go through the compression, through the eye of the needle, as you say, and come out the other side, you will be expanding again, going global, going to solar system, going galactic, going universal, going ultradimensional. So as you began and came down to the focal point, so you will go out again in your expansion in the future as you awaken to more and more and more of who you are. And this will be the hourglass that will symbolize the time spent doing this in linear terms. And right now, you are right at the neck of that hourglass. Each little grain of sand that you are squeezing through that neck to once again expand out the other side. But now is the pressure point. Now is when it all comes down to the pressure in the crucible. But you see, as you know, by analogy, and you know we love analogy, you may go into this pressure pot as coal, but you'll come out as a diamond. You know that pressure is what creates diamonds from coal. You know you are carbon-based life. So why should you not come out as a diamond as well on the other side of the pressure? You are crystallizing yourselves, rendering yourselves down into your basic components, reorganizing yourselves, reorganizing your energy in a more crystalline way, and coming out as an energy diamond. This is the process going on now. You're bringing all this to bear, all these energies to bear, blending them, integrating them, pushing them together, fusing them. Fusion, fusion, fusion. And then you will create this beautiful gem, this crystalline idea of reality, and begin to experience the reflection of that as you expand out the other side of the hourglass. This is the dynamic. This is the energy dynamic you are creating on your planet now with your soul blueprint. Squeezing it all down to a neutronic state. Crystallizing it, hardening it, refining it until you are this perfect gem at the other side. A gem of knowledge, a gem of experience, a nugget of pure information, a nugget of pure creation, a treasure for the universe to share. And as you expand out the other side and become new humans, you will have new playmates upon the earth. Us and others, dolphins, other beings, nature, consciousness, other ways of experiencing and expressing your relationship to all that is, to the world, to nature, to all the beings you share the world with, to beings that will come and be on the world with you from time to time, and that you will then be able to go to their worlds and share upon their worlds with. This will be the legacy that will begin to flow out the other side of the hourglass. You will be able to be walking side by side, hand in hand, as equals with all life upon the earth and life elsewhere in the universe. Many of you have begun to realize and have begun to share the idea with others that for a while, shall we say, your planet has been kind of, well, off limits to others, sort of quarantined in a way, sort of, let's see how they do, let's not interfere, what you call in science fiction parlance, the prime directive. They must be allowed to find their own way. They can be assisted, they can be helped a little bit, but we cannot interfere. It is mostly a hands-off policy. Otherwise, we will interfere with their process. They will not get the real benefit out of it by having done it themselves that they will get. We must let them find their own way, much in the same way that you allow your children to learn to walk, then run. You can help, but you can't do it for them. And if you try to do it for them, you will actually remove their ability to really learn to do it for themselves. So we could not do that for you. But because you are now learning to walk and are starting to walk on your own more and more, there can be more involvement, a little bit more. The hands-off policy can become a little bit more hands-on. And the so-called quarantine, in that sense, can be somewhat lifted. Now, putting this into what might be called a galactic legal perspective, if you wish to talk about such things as so-called galactic law, galactic contracts, just to use that euphemism because we understand you are familiar with this idea of legality on your planet, contracts on your planet, time frames on your planet. We wish to give you a slightly different perspective on something that many of you have become very aware of. And that is the idea of the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. What you have called your year of 2012. Many of you have begun to recognize that it is to some degree a delineation point, a demarcation point. And it is generally representative of the arrival of a critical mass on your planet, a critical mass of consciousness that now knows it is going from one phase to another, and that beyond that timing point, there can be a great degree of acceleration in the direction of what you prefer your reality to be. The year 2012 does not mean that literally on 12:01 after midnight of that day, you will find ships landing everywhere and everything being different on your planet all at once. No. But it is representative of a general window of transition. It is the demarcation of the crossing of a critical threshold. But here is now a new way I will allow you to look at this idea. A new way we are allowed to let you look at this idea of what the year on your counting of 2012 represents, and the reason that the Mayan calendar ended there as a demarcation line. The real reason, legalistically speaking, contractually speaking, that year, shall we say, legally represents the ending date of the quarantine. Your world from that point forward will no longer be off limits legally for the rest of the galaxy. Your quarantine is up in that year. End of that cycle, end of that contract. Again, it doesn't mean ships will be landing the next day. But what it means is they can land the next day. Legally, they can land the next day according to galactic law. You are no longer off limits, no longer hands off. Now, specifically and especially from that date forward, when the interactions of contact occur and how things go on your planet will be totally in your hands. You will make the ultimate determination of when the best timing will be for such interactions, because we will no longer be hampered or hindered by the idea that we are restricted by the quarantine. From that point forward, we'll be taking our cue completely from when you are really ready for such interaction based on the changes you are willing to make on your planet. But as we perceive your energy from that date forward, as we have said, it will most likely, as we read the energy now, take no longer than somewhere in the window of 2015 to 2033 for open contact to take place, most likely between 2025 and 2033. But between 2015 and 2025, there will be more and more and more individual contacts, more and more ability for people to go to different places on your planet, see our ships, begin the beginnings of interaction, begin the protocols of interaction, begin the very beginning phases of interaction, culminating in more and more open contacts officially, as you say, between 2025 and 2033, as we read the energy now. But only after 2012 will this be possible, because the quarantine will be done. Your isolation from galactic community will be over. Time to join the club. Truly join the club. Which means there are many changes you need to make in your own lives, in your own beings, and upon the earth in terms of your activity, your degree of action, your degree of putting out there who you know you are, and really taking the soul blueprint to heart, to heart, to heart, and living your dreams, living your lives as fully as you can, and responding differently in the way you prefer to everything that occurs upon the earth, in every circumstance, in every situation, with every person, coming from the heart, coming from compassion, coming from passion, coming from excitement, coming from love, coming from creativity, coming from beliefs and definitions you prefer. And discovering the ones within you that don't work for you, and dealing with them, working with them vigorously, excitingly, creatively, inviting you to find those things, inviting yourselves to find the beliefs and definitions that don't work for you. Inviting it, accepting it, working with it, acknowledging it, living it fully, even as you sense that we do. Because we've given you certainly a number of hints that our society lives that way. And I think you can certainly see it and feel it in the vibration of energy that we give off. Or are we being too shy? I will tell you a little secret. The strongest vibration any of you have ever felt from us is about 5% of the level we actually exist on. 5% maximum have you ever experienced from us about what our level of reality and the ecstasy that exists within it is actually like. That level of ecstatic existence is your birthright too. Don't deny it to yourselves. Don't begrudge it to yourselves. Don't withhold it from yourselves. Explore who you are with abandon. Explore who you are with willingness, with openness, with acceptance. Everything, the dark, the light, all of it. Explore who you are. It's beautiful for what it is. It's perfect for what it is. And when you allow it to be perfect for what it is, you can then allow it to be what you prefer it to be. For as we have said many times, you cannot change what you do not own. So own all of it and then allow it to be what you prefer it to be. So that as you expand outwardly now on the other side of the hourglass, you can walk hand in hand with each other, equally validating the differences between you. For it is only through the equal validation of all your differences that you will find true unity on your world. It is not homogenization that will give you unity. It is the validation of all your differences that will give you unity. Because you are different from each other for a reason. To reflect to each other those things that you yourself did not choose to experience in this life, but that through another you can. And you can use their life as an example. The fact that you, in your life, can also be an example to them for a different way of doing things. Different ideas, different sharings, different experiences. This is the value of creation, in that there are an infinite number of ways to do anything. That is the value of the one, is that it is the many, and the many are the one. Cherish the many and the one, not this or that. Don't go to the one running from the many. Don't get lost in the many running from the one. It is this and that, not this or that. It is the one and the many and the one. The many is the one is the many. Include, including exclusion. Because exclusion is a choice. You don't have to do the excluding, but include exclusion as an equal choice you don't have to choose to do. But it is equally valid as a choice. Exclusion is equally valid as inclusion as a choice, but you don't have to exclude. The paradox is that when you include exclusion, you will only be including as a choice. Learn the power of paradox. That's where you reside, in the center where dichotomy comes from. When things seem to be polarized, understand they both have to come, equal opposite ideas still have to come from a common center in you. You are the paradox. You are the paradox. Learn the power of the paradox. And learn that what you are actually experiencing in this transformational time, in this transitional time, is to be able to tell the difference, is to be able to discern the difference between two primary states of being. You are learning to discern the difference between using the power of the illusion instead of succumbing to the illusion of power. Do not fall into the illusion of power. Use the power of the illusion. That is true power. That's what you are learning to tell the difference between. That's what the transformation is all about. Using the power of the illusion instead of succumbing to the illusion of power. That will make all the difference in your world when you recognize that one single perspective and employ the power of paradox and incorporate and include that within your understanding in everything that you do. Relate to it through paradox. Is this a representation? Is my response to this situation a representation of falling under the illusion of power? Or is it the utilization of the power of the illusion? That simple recognition alone at that moment of encountering any situation, in any circumstance, with any person, and making that realizational determination in that moment will absolutely unlock you from any effect you don't prefer. And allow you to instill the effect you do prefer with that one realization, with that one question. Is my relationship to this situation the illusion of power or the power of the illusion? Which do I prefer? How do I want to relate to what's going on in my life? Make that determination, make that decision, and act accordingly. And you will see unprecedented clarity in everything that you do. You will see it for what it is. You will see it as something expressing an illusion of power or something that is truly using the power of the illusion. You will see it for what it is. Bring to bear your soul blueprint by looking at all the different ways you can look at yourself as a multifaceted crystal with all these different vibrations and all these different energies, integrating them into one understanding perspective. It all comes down to that. All those connections, all those vibrations, all the understanding you will ever have about yourself in this life experience comes down to that one discerning moment. Illusion of power, power of illusion. Which am I living? The illusion of power or the power of the illusion? Which am I living? Who am I? Decide and act accordingly. Every moment, decide and act accordingly. Decide and act accordingly. Decide and act accordingly. Decide and act accordingly. Do you have questions? Organize yourselves, however you have organized yourself, to begin the interaction with questions, if you wish.
If Bashar chooses you to ask a question, please come and sit up here and then use the microphone. Great.
And since you were the first one, speak up and be bold so that all may hear what you have to share.
Thank you, Bashar, and especially for doing it this weekend. We really appreciate this workshop.
And we appreciate the co-creation as well.
Last weekend, I had an opportunity to do a past life regression, and I asked for the life to come up that's most relevant to my life in this lifetime.
Yes.
And I tapped into a life in early 1800s in London. I was a man named Robert, and I was an actor in that lifetime, and I used my acting ability to change the educational system in England by using acting and interacting with the students as opposed to the way the professors were teaching at that time.
All right, very good. And what does this teach you?
Well, in that lifetime, I had a very humble and poor existence, and I had a group of students.
Yet rich in other ways.
Right. I didn't realize the impact that I had on the
Yes.
educational system, and a group of my students or disciples helped me with food and
Yes.
rent, and I died or lived a fairly unpleasant and unhappy life, feeling that I didn't really do anything and that I lived this existence of poverty, and didn't realize that I had a major impact.
Yes.
And so I'm relating it to what I'm doing now in terms of using mentoring, teaching mentoring of youth and
Very
education.
good. And now you understand the impact you are having?
Yes, and I'm realizing that I'm having an impact,
Yes.
and that I don't need to live in poverty.
No. Many, many different kinds of themes were explored in other lives, and the idea that was very strong as a theme in many of your past lives was the idea that in order to do anything worthwhile and have an impact, you had to suffer for your cause. Well, you understand now that you don't have to do that. That you have impact just by being who you are. Let me tell you all a very big secret. That is no secret anymore. And please take me very literally on this, just by being alive in this reality, these are the kinds of impacts you all have on each other every single moment of every single day. Just because you're alive right now. Now I'm going to talk collectively, but I'm also talking individually about different members of the group. Just because you're alive right now The very fact of nothing more than just the fact that you exist in this physical reality on earth, at this place, at this time, 500,000 more species of birds that would have died are now going to live. 2 degrees change in the weather patterns upon your planet is going to occur in a way that will help stabilize the weather patterns of certain areas of your world more than they would have been stabilized had you not existed. 300,000 bees will pollinate more flowers now than they would have had you not been alive. 1 dolphin baby will now be born that would not have been born had you not been alive. All of these influences and effects upon your world are the result of just the existence of people such as yourself with the intention that you carry through life to be who you prefer to be. Without doing anything else, those are the kinds of effects you have on your world, because the entire world is a connected orchestration of consciousness and energy in motion. So even just every thought you have changes everything, affects everything. So then, even more so when you focus the idea of your intentions into an action, do you find that you will then be able to see more clearly the impact you are already having. The idea of action is not so much for the idea of adding impact, it is for the idea of allowing you to experience the impact you are having. Because action connects you to the mechanism of the orchestration in such a way that you then flow the result of your impact back to yourself in such a way that you experience the impact you are having upon the world. Do you follow that?
Yes.
So, the idea is that you're already having the impact, but when you take action, such as mentoring those children, you then, when you also clarify all the different levels of yourself, will be more capable of actually witnessing the impact that you're already having. Whereas in the other life, you didn't get an opportunity to witness the impact because you had ideas and beliefs and definitions within yourself that bought into the concept that you were not actually having an impact. Even though you were active, you had beliefs that didn't allow you to see how much of an impact you were having, whereas now you have beliefs that can allow you to witness and understand that A, you are having an impact just by being here, and that by being willing to be active about the impact you are having, you will have more ability to get in touch with the belief systems that can then be changed to allow you more opportunity to witness the impact that you are having. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does that help you?
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And are there any other questions?
Yes, Bashar.
You and then you.
Thank you. Bashar, first I'd like to share with you.
Come up to your recording and microphone amplifying device. Hold one moment. The next person, do you know who you are?
Yes.
Female.
Yes, I do.
The next person after this one.
Here.
There is a female first and then the male.
Okay.
Female, female, male. Do you follow? Yes, no, maybe? All right. Continue.
Thank you. Hello, Bashar. First, I'd like to share with you a couple of things in regards to what you spoke earlier about.
Yes.
2 things hit home for me. One was the image of the diamond.
Yes.
I have a portrait that was painted for me, of me, a multidimensional portrait. And in my forehead, in my higher self, in the painting, there is that diamond.
Yes.
So that was really right on for me. That
All right. Thank you for your synchronicity.
Thank you. And something else. Several years ago, about maybe 10 years ago, I projected into the future in a hypnotic state.
Yes.
And I went to the year 2012.
Yes.
And in that time, I saw myself, and in that vision, I was standing in Jerusalem.
Yes.
I was looking up in the sky, and I saw multidimensional beings coming through.
Yes.
And I would shout, look, look, everybody look. Can you see these beings? And I saw my guides there, and I saw other multidimensional beings. And people started to look up and to take notice.
Yes.
Before they couldn't see.
Yes.
So I interpreted that as an awakening, an
Yes,
opening
a
up.
vibrational shift. Understand there are many, many, many things going on in your skies all the time that many of you simply are not aware of because you're not on the frequency to perceive them. Mm-hmm. And as you make changes within yourselves and incorporate more and more of your being, these things will become visible to you, and the fact that you can then see them will be markers to us that your vibration has shifted in an appropriate manner for other things to now occur.
Okay, thank you.
Especially in certain places on your planet will certain of these things come to fruition and manifestation, and what you call the area on your planet, Jerusalem, shall be one of these strong areas where certain manifestations will occur as they did before.
It's interesting because in the vision that I had, there was a war going on at that time.
Yes.
And because people started to be able to see multidimensionally, that brought the peace to the region.
No. Because people began to bring the peace, they were able to begin to see multidimensionally.
Ah.
You understand?
Okay.
That's the difference. We are not doing it for you.
No. That came from inside themselves.
But the idea of saying that seeing it brought the peace is a reverse of the understanding that they did it.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Doing it is what allows them to see multidimensionally. Doing the peace, being the peace, will bring the multidimensional ability because you cannot perceive what you are not the vibration of.
Understood. Yes.
Does that help you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I have a question for you from my son, Noah.
Is this appropriate to what we are discussing today?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, he asked me to ask you a question about his past lifetimes. He's been picking up a lot about his lifetime in World War II. He thinks World War I or II, where he was an officer.
Yes.
He has started to do some writing on his own.
All right.
And he thinks he might have committed suicide.
Yes.
He wanted to know if that was actually what happened. He felt very guilty for something he did to his soldiers.
There is no need to feel guilty.
Right.
The idea simply is that particular personality could no longer withstand what they were experiencing and decided in that sense that it would be the best thing at that time to do. There is no need to feel guilt. The soul survives. You are eternal. Still exists, doesn't he?
Oh, yes.
Well,
Yes.
then it doesn't matter in what form.
Oh, yeah, we have discussed that.
Yes.
Yes, he doesn't feel guilt any longer.
All right.
Yeah, but he's been processing that.
All
so
right.
he wanted to have some validation of that.
Yes.
And also a possible connection to Leonardo da Vinci.
No discussion of that at this moment.
All right. Thank you
All
very
right.
much, Bashar.
Thank
you.
And the next. What is the time frame remaining for this segment of the transmission? Yes. All right.
Bashar, I have a couple of questions.
All right.
Maybe I should just state them all at once, and then you can deal with them as
You may do it however you wish, whatever gives you joy.
All right. I would appreciate it if, if it's not what I'm not sure if everybody here is more familiar than I am with this, in which case forget about it. But if
Forget about what?
Well, the coming question.
Oh, well, you see, I already forgot about it.
I would just like you to say a little bit more, if you would, about this thing you quickly mentioned about the Anunnaki used their DNA and dinosaur DNA to
Yes.
create the reptilian, race, and then they went away somewhere else.
Yes.
And came back.
Yes.
When the human beings were more developed.
Yes.
Well, I had misunderstood, and I thought that the Anunnaki were reptilians.
No.
Okay, so can you please clarify this relationship a little bit more as to who they really are, who the reptilians are or were, and then their coming and going, if you wouldn't mind. Secondly, just a quick question about what is going on with the sun here.
Are you talking about your central star?
Yes, the center of our solar system.
All
A
right.
number of people
The star
have...
you call soul.
Okay.
Your
yes.
star's name is Soul, S-O-L, Soul.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Okay. I've been reading, and people that I've just deal with, have noticed that there seems to be quite a difference in the quality of light
Yes.
being emitted, and that there's an extraordinary increase in brilliance in the light that we're experiencing from
Yes.
the sun. I'm wondering if you could comment
right.
on that a little bit.
A little bit. We will work it backwards.
Okay.
The idea being several things. Number one, changes in the sun itself, because the sun goes through cycles, you understand? And thus then in this cycle, it is giving off a little more brilliance. But it is also part and parcel of changes within all of you, because there are no accidents, and timing and synchronicity have relevance. So in that you are increasing your light, so too the light from the sun will reflect that as it goes through its own cycle in terms of a coincidental timing. Do you follow me?
Yes.
So that is the reflection that you need to look at, is that as it brightens, it is an indication that you are stepping up the frequency of your own energies. And in that sense, shining more brightly. Understand that if you were to compare a person from your society now, at present, to a physical person from your society even just a few hundred years ago, the person from a few hundred years ago would look at your body and would actually see it shining. You don't notice this because you're used to it. But you've accelerated your vibration upwardly enough so that to a person from 300 years ago, you would actually appear radiant to them. Do you follow me?
Yes.
So this is the symbol of the idea of the radiance from your sun as it goes through its increased radiance cycle. It is lockstepped to the timing of the increase in your radiance collectively, as you take yourself up a notch to another vibrational level, as you transition to a higher vibrational plane in physical reality.
Is this being experienced at the same time by consciousnesses on other planets of this system, or is this primarily a function of
The consciousnesses on other planets of this system are non-physical. There is no other indigenous life physically in your reality, in your dimension of reality, that has what you would call a physical civilization on any other planet in your system, aside from temporary bases put there by other civilizations not native to your system. There is other indigenous life in your solar system, but it is not what you would call a technological civilization. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, as far as that is concerned, those indigenous life forms that experience your sun in the same dimensional plane will also experience the brightening, because the entire solar system is uplifting to another level. But the idea is that there is no other actual native technological industrial civilization on any other planet other than those that are temporary bases. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Now, the Anunnaki in that sense are connected to your system in a variety of ways, and we do not have, in your terms, time to go into all the details. You can certainly find out more about these beings in some of the published works of individuals, such as that which is called Sitchin. You are familiar with this?
Yes, but I understand that he's putting out some disinformation, so...
That is not of any concern at the moment. The idea of the original information is accurate enough as far as you need to know that. With regard to the idea of what you may call a humanoid race that you have referred to as the Anunnaki in an ancient language on Earth. And in this way, they did use part of their DNA to uplift both the Saurian and the hominid lines of evolution on your planet. Now, the Saurian line, in that sense, what you now refer to as the reptilian race, represents because it comes from your dimensional plane and actually comes from your planet, to some degree, part of your soul family. And in that sense, as a physical species, they represent the level of reptilian brain that exists still even within your human species. So they represent to you and reflect to you the idea of reaction, and to some degree the idea of survival mode and fear. And that is why some of you react to them the way that you do. They do have their own agenda, and it may not necessarily be completely in lockstep with the human agenda, but you really have absolutely nothing to fear from them in that sense, because you are on your own path as humans. And you also contain some of the same Anunnaki DNA, and so in that sense, vibrationally, you're simply like cousins. Do you follow me?
Yes.
The idea is to stay focused on the idea of integrating any relationship you may have with them into your own path as it serves you to do so, rather than getting caught up in any way, shape, or form about the idea of any differences between you. For now. Later on in time, there will be more opportunity for the human race and the reptilian race to reconcile their agendas with each other, and this time will come. But for now, focus on the idea of the fact that you both come from the same cradle, you both have similar DNA in that sense from the Anunnaki, and that makes you to some degree connected vibrationally, and use what you can as the symbol they represent to you to get in touch with those portions of your own human consciousness that are reptilian in nature, and get a handle on how to integrate those reactionary and survival instinct levels within yourself in a higher plane fashion. Does that make sense?
Yes, and is this connected to the unspoken agendas having to do with our occupation of Iraq?
Yes. And it connects heavily into the old ideas of Orion lifetimes where there was great oppression and suppression and warfare. And you are bringing all that to bear now in this present lifetime as part of the soul blueprint slices that are relevant to dealing with these issues and getting them out of your system and integrated. You follow me?
Yes. Could you just talk about when they went away and then came back?
Just the idea simply that that race was never in that sense really a race that occupied or inhabited Earth for any length of time. But they were taken to another world and have a technology in that sense that allows them to visit your world from time to time in the sense of coming back to their old homestead. But for their own agenda and for their own purposes for now. You follow me?
Right, and they're the bloodline families that we've been talking about.
Bloodline
right?
in what sense?
Oh, the Illuminati and so forth.
No. This is a misunderstanding. That is more of an idea of Orion incarnations rather than reptilian. Do you follow this?
I think I'm not up on this.
Consider the reptilian race separate in that sense, except that incarnationally, some of them may have come into Orion bloodlines that represent what you call Illuminati bloodlines. But it is not directly reptilian. Only incarnationally is this vibrational connection made. Do you follow me?
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very
We
much.
apologize that we cannot go into greater depth right now in that, but we will address this at another time.
Thank you.
The mail, and then we will take a break.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Would you please describe the relationship between the astrological birth chart and the soul blueprint you talked about today?
Yes. The idea, as we mentioned it, in terms of relationship between the tool of astrology and soul blueprint is similar to what we said when we said that when you become physical, you sort of crystallize yourself. You form a type of pattern that is relevant to the moment of crystallization. And so in that crystallization, in a sense, is a slice that could be reconciled with the idea of the different frequencies in the soul blueprint. Soul blueprint and astrological chart do have similarities in the idea that they both represent that moment of crystallization into physical reality. And with a person that is sensitive enough to read those vibrations, they can understand to some degree what kind of themes a person may have crystallized within their incarnational blueprint. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that a sufficient answer, or is there some degree of
I would like
detail you wish to go into.
I would
about
like
this.
further detail in terms of if particular planets or signs of the zodiac correlate
All right.
with the
Now,
different...
again, please remember that as with any tool, it is just a tool, and it is a reflective tool. It is not a controlling tool. So in that sense, any relationship that anyone may discover is simply their way of relating to a reflection or a symbol that represents a way to get in touch with the vibration in their crystallization or soul blueprint pattern. So it's not that a particular relationship that you may feel you have to a particular planet is that you're being controlled or influenced by the planet, but that the vibration of the idea that the planet represents is similar to the vibration of that aspect of your crystallization pattern, and thus reflects it to you so you can get in better touch with what the symbol means and how to integrate that symbol into your understanding of who you are and what choices you can make. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help illuminate it sufficiently?
No.
What else do you wish to talk about?
I would like to be able to use my astrological birth chart to define my own pie chart that you were talking about today.
All right. Give us one specific example of a particular aspect of your astrological chart
That I have
that you are aware of.
many planets in the sign of Leo.
All right. What this reflects to you then is anything that represents the vibration represented by that symbol as you understand it archetypally in your collective consciousness. So in other words, anything you associate to the concept of the symbol of the lion, look to history and look to the idea of how cultures have represented that symbol to begin to see the relative ways in which that vibration has been represented, and you can follow that back through different civilizations, sometimes even to off-world civilizations that may be connected to various things that are in your soul blueprint. So for example, the idea of how the lion was represented in different cultures that have to do with, let's say, the Sphinx in Egypt is obviously one connection for you vibrationally in your overall soul blueprint pie chart. And also the fact that you even named a constellation Leo in that sense will allow you to understand that there may be relevance in that star system for you specifically with regard to incarnations there. Do you follow?
Yes.
Does this help illuminate the idea a little bit further?
Yes, it does.
Can you take that further than on your own?
One last, so there's no direct correlation between, say, a particular constellation and Anunnaki or...
Are you specifically asking about Anunnaki?
Yes. Yes.
One moment. The ancient Lyran and Pleiadian systems will have much to do with the Anunnaki, but in a different way than they ultimately appeared on your planet, because in appearing on your planet, they already came through incarnational filters that adjusted them to your solar system, so they were no longer directly representative of the original Pleiadian Lyran systems from which, in that sense, they originated. Do you follow that?
Slightly.
In other words, they took upon themselves a new vibrational symbol when entering your system that, in a sense, no longer made them representative of the original systems from which they issued. And the new symbol they took upon themselves in your system was what you call the 10th planet, or what has been called in ancient language Nibiru. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Does that help answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You may all now enjoy what you call your refreshment break. And we will resume this transmission after you are refreshed. Good day.